But it would be great to I think one of the big questions that I always wanted to ask is for, especially for an artist, which is a rare career that most people do not know. People can name one or two artists, but it seems to be, it's a rare career that's not very commonly known. People can love art, but to have a career as an artist, it is something really fascinating. So it would be great to hear your journey from, not even before you studied computer programming, but how you got into becoming an artist.
Okay. Well, I didn't hear the last bit of that question because.
Yeah, I was asking about your journey. Your journey. How did you become an artist? And I was saying this because there are people who play football, people who play music, people who are accountants or doctors, and it's quite easy to trace that type of journey. You know, if you're playing football, if you're good enough, people spot you and you can have a career in that. If you study medicine, you become a doctor. But to become a professional artist, that in itself doesn't matter how good you are. There's a lot into being an artist because they're celebrated. Sometimes after they pass, sometimes when they are. But so it's honest. I wanted to understand your journey, how you became an artist, and how did you decide to take it up back in secondary school or university?
Well, I did not choose to become an artist. I did not choose to become an artist, and I have said it, too many times, to the people, I've met along the way, who wanted to know what inspired me to become an artist and how that helps me to take care of myself and my family. Basically, how do I live through art? And like I've said too many times before now, that I did not choose to become an artist because art for me, like the way I describe art, is in the simplest of terms. When you ask what is art, and I will tell you that art is life. It's just that simple. That art is life. I mean, if you look at it holistically, you can just see that art is life. Because even from the beginning of anything that you want to bring to life, if you want to bring an idea, no matter what the idea is, if you want to bring it to life, it has to come through, through creativity of some kind. Whether you want to build a house starts with a plan, and an architect have to saying art is all of life, art is everything. And art is very important, to life, to everything, even the concept of creation, if you look at the Bible and the concept of creation, it's all art. God created the world, and it was, I guess, it must have been some kind of idea in the mind of God before God decided to bring his idea to life. I mean, I don't think God just decided to just from the top of his head and just wanted to create the world. I'm sure he's got a concept of what he wanted to, the kind of world he wanted to create. And I'm sure he must have, have some kind of composition in his mind that this is the kind of world that he wanted to create. So you could see that everything comes from art, basically. Now talk about visual art. Visual art is just a branch of art in general, you know, because there are so many other kinds of art. I mean, poetry is art, you know, writing is art, dancing is art, acting is art, movie making, all those things, okay? But uh, in my own kind of art, which is visual art, although I do other kinds of, you know, art, you know, music and designs and the other forms of art. But my core, should I say, you know, my main focus is visual art, where I use my art to tell my stories and tell the stories of the world and the story of life and the story, you know, as I see them from my own point of view. Because I think that's the most important thing for every artist is for us to tell our stories, you know, from our own point of view, that altogether, you know, when you've seen life from one's perspective and see from another's perspective, and you begin to have an idea, a whole idea of what life is or whatever the subject is, you know, because it can only see from your perspective, and it can't see from another's perspective unless they show you, you know, their perspective, what they are seeing, and then you can start to see a whole story, you know, and then just like someone can be in another town and will probably take a photograph of something, or maybe tell you a story of what they are looking at. You are not there to see it, but they tell you the story, and you'll be able to understand what they are seeing from their perspective. So that you have gained some sort of knowledge, you know, based on what you have heard or seen from another's perspective. Okay, so that's what art is to me. Art is all of life. Art is there. There is no other way to define art other than that art is life. Okay, and in my own journey of becoming an artist, like I said, I did not choose to be an artist because, you know, art is not a means someone can you say that's, I mean, I know, you know, in my own, you know, artists are like teachers, like they're like teachers. And I think artists are gifts, they are gifts, God's gift to the world, basically, you know. An artist don't go into, you don't become an artist because you want to make profit, you know, because you want to be a billionaire and make so much money, you know. And if you have that kind of mindset and you want to be an artist, then the aim of being an artist will be so, you know, be so defeated, because that's not what an artist is about. You know, an artist is meant to use his works, his craft, his gift as a blessing to the world, you know, in the terms of knowledge and understanding of some kind. Um, you know, in my own case, growing up, you know, my father, before before he became a publisher, he was a teacher. You know, he taught in schools, and my dad was a very good teacher. You know, very good teacher. You know, those days. I mean, I was not opportune to. Towards the later part of his teaching career was when I was born. Towards the end of it, so it was from the stories that I hear of people telling me that my dad taught them in school growing up. And my mom, on the other hand, till today, my mom is a professor in the university, and she is a teacher, okay? And she rose from the ranks of teaching from secondary school to and down to university before she became a professor. And I like to think that I'm also a teacher of some kind, you know, and that it was something that I was meant to do, you know, looking at where I was coming from. You know, I came from a teaching family, and maybe I might not be a classroom teacher, but I'm using my works as an artist to teach what I believe is the truth, or you know, what I believe people should be aware of, and in general to better the world in a way, you know, inspiring people, you know, because a piece of art can change your perspective on everything that you know. You know, it can trigger something in you that can set you on a new path of life, something that you never knew existed before. So those are some of the impacts of life, of art in, you know, in our lives. So I like to see myself as a teacher, but not a classroom teacher, you know, a teacher using my own medium of art to teach, you know, what I believe and my perspective, like I said earlier. You know, so art means so much, it means so much to me. That is who I am. You know, I might be involved with other things, other kind of businesses, you know, that can give me, I can earn a living off of. But primarily, art is something that is me, that I believe is my purpose in life, something that I must do to fulfill the many reasons of my existence in this world. You know, so growing up, that has been at the back of my mind. Even though I did not start practicing art professionally early enough, okay? I did not go through the process of having a mentor or a teacher or going through art school or whatever. I just knew that this was what I was supposed to do. And the minute I decided that I would do it, there was this, there's a kind of fulfillment that I derived from that. You know, just even before I could pick up a paintbrush or even stretch my first canvas, you know, just that decision to become an artist, to practice art. I remember exactly where I was, you know, when I made that decision. And it was effortless. It was so liberating for me when I made that decision to become an artist. Something in me woke up and something in me went to sleep. Okay? So
what do you mean something went into sleep? What do you mean?
Yeah, something in me went to sleep because I discovered that shortly when, you know, after I decided to become an artist and when I started practicing art, there are so many things that I used to do before in my life that I did not find interesting anymore.
Okay.
That, you know, there are some things that I used to enjoy doing, okay, but then all of a sudden I lost interest in many of those things. Things like going to clubbing.
Okay.
You know, things like just hanging out with friends and, you know, and things of that nature, right? They left me, and I did not miss them for a bit. I did not miss them, and something in me took over, woke up, to my new reality. Okay, so that's how I knew that I have gone through a transition that is totally out of this world. Okay, and I felt so happy and fulfilled before I even started indulging in painting, and and the process of it was a huge eye-opener for me in life, because it opened a new way of thinking for me.
Okay.
It showed me the most important things in life. What is the most important? So I came to understand that what I used to think was important was not really so much of importance. Okay, so I came to a new reality of understanding in various forms when I started to become, when I decided to become an artist. Okay, so it opened a whole new world of understanding for me. Okay, and as I move on into the journey, more and more windows kept opening, a new understanding of what life is, how things came to be, what's the most important, and so on and so forth.
Now, what I watch a lot of superhero movies, and one of my favorite is Daredevil. And when he got blind, he had to learn to see the world through different senses. So his ears, his touch, he was able to see more clearly than when he had his eyes, because it's almost like with your eyes you're very distracted, but when he used his other senses, he was able to see the beauty and things that most people miss. And it's amazing how you're telling your story as if you almost did it change your perspective on human beings and politics, or what did you notice? Because you mentioned earlier about having a different story. So for you, with this transformation, almost like a road to Emmaus with Paul, Damascus, sorry, the Damascus experience with Paul. What was your change? Was it in nature? Was it in people? Was it in politics? Or what is it that you started to see that you hadn't seen, that you started to say, I needed to tell that story?
Well, in everything really, it is no particular subject that changed for me. The whole of life changed for me. The whole of the way I analyze things changed.
But then did you narrow down what you wanted to your art to focus in? Because now if everything changed, did you say
No, I did not. Sometimes if you're on a journey, you can only see what is directly in front of you. And you might not really be aware of what's further, from further away from your sight. Okay, so once I decided to be an artist, it became a journey of discovery.
Okay.
So I did not know how it's going to work. I did not know what shape it's going to take, where it's going to lead me to. But I kind of jumped into it, by faith, and I guess your mind, your heart will tell you when you are on the right track. Just like when you do something wrong, you know that you've done something wrong. And when you do something right, you know that you're doing something right. Your heart always tells you the truth, And just like you said, our sight, our eyes can be so deceitful. What you see might not be what it is. The old talk about the more you look, the less you see. If you want to deceive people, you show them something to be looking at while you deceive them. Okay, so you find out that the most important sight we need is our mind's eye, the one that is inside of us. That is the most important eyes that you need as a person. Vision, put it that way. Okay, vision. So, like I said, a lot of things changed for me. I started learning new things. I started not to make hasty decisions on things. I started to be more empathic, see people and things that happen around me from a whole new different perspective. No more judging things from afar or just seeing something and concluding that this is what it is. Okay, so, it kind of brings me into the inner workings of things, how the structure of things, how things work. And it is through life that I came to understand the structure, the main structure of life and the most important aspects of life. Things that are most important, things that cannot seen, just like your breath. Your breath, if your breath is taken away from you, you'll be dead. Okay, you'll be dead. But yet you don't see these things. You don't see the air, but it's there. So art kind of opened up for me a whole tunnel of new understanding and new visions.